Hey everybody, we was just live with Kat, and we were discussing childhood trauma on Alicia Intellectual Talks. I want you all to add Catherine Warren. She didn't get a chance to really tell you about her platform, but she's a minister, a Christian, and she had a lot of good advice to give to people with childhood trauma. I also didn't know how serious in the Black community childhood trauma is. You know, it's definitely an issue that we gotta figure out how to get through it. And we discussed that forgiveness is a real big piece of healing from childhood trauma. But, you know, we want to be real with people. It's like, even though forgiveness is there, forgiveness is something that we need, forgiveness is not always easy to do. So working on forgiveness, it goes in levels. And it goes in levels by talking with each other, discussing some of our experiences with one another, because this is how you help each other, is you share your stories, you share what you've been through, you release what you've been through. It makes life easier for you. I'm gonna give some time, just a little bit more time, see if I get some people to come in here. Let's see if we get some more people in here. See. Let's see who all we can get in here. Whoever joins, you know what I'm saying? I just would like to hear, I'm ready to hear some more experiences from people. I still got some time to kill. I want to know what's happened in your childhood. How did you get from it? How did you heal from it? What has bothered you from your childhood? We did discuss that a lot of us that's like 40 years old and up, we dealt with some pretty hard parents. You know, like, we dealt with some pretty hard times when we were children, and we was like living like we're happy, but internally we was going through something. So that's another thing, is like recognizing how generational curses are happening within a whole community, and we try to act like we're so good and we live. Rich people, Black rich people, act like they're better, you know, but everyone has a past. Everyone had a childhood and had struggles, and most people had struggles in their childhood. If I could hear somebody say that they didn't have troubles or struggles in their childhood, I definitely would like to see that, you know, because a lot of people say that they had a pretty good childhood, and, you know, you like to hear how perfect it was. So I'm eternally grateful for Kat coming into the Facebook Live. I'm grateful for everyone who came. Join me again next time, as we're gonna take this to another level with the childhood trauma, and we want to see, you know, what else can we learn from it. A lot of people watch Love and Hip Hop. We were very focusing on Rashida from Love and Hip Hop with her father. Hello, how you doing, Alan? And Rashida's thing with her father really got to me, because my relationship with my father is very similar. As far as like, I have a father that's like supposed to be celebrity. You know, played the guitar like with Ohio Players, Sly in the Family Stone. Like, my father was very known in Dayton, Ohio, and I didn't know my dad. So I didn't get to know my dad till I got older. And he turned out to be what I did not want. And that affected me after that. I was affected. And I'm still affected. So I decided, as understanding that even at 40 years old, even after I still continuously try to forgive my dad, and he still doesn't reach out and forgive me or talk to me, those things internally affect me as far as what I would consider as childhood trauma. Even though in my 20s, a lot of people think in your 20s you're an adult, but I feel like in your 20s you're still a child. You know what I'm saying? And I was affected in my 20s by meeting my father, and I've been affected ever since. And I almost feel like sometimes people be like, when they grow up, they want to go find their long lost parents. My advice to you is, don't do it. Don't do it, because you might run into a whole can of worms that you're not ready to deal with. And my aunt who raised me, you know, she always used to say stuff like, you know, he ain't no good anyway. You know what I'm saying? You want to find him, go ahead, but he ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? And I always was still like, I want to know who he is. I'm begging and trying to figure it out. And then when I actually figured out who he was as a person, it did something to me. You know, it affected me as a person. And then I also have a lot of my father's ways. And sometimes we be in denial that we have some of our family's ways. You know what I'm saying? So it was good in that sense to know what I need to change by learning from him. What do I need to change within myself? And sometimes our parents don't do that. They don't look at their issues. They just hard. You know what I'm saying? It's that generation thing where our parents was more hard in how they parent. And they definitely weren't going to tell you their issues, and they definitely didn't want you to discuss your issues to them. At least in my household, we lived in a household where it was like, you can't just sit down and talk about, oh, Mom, you know, I'm affected because my mom is gone. My mom is dead. I'm affected by that. Help, 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 help. And in my situation, my family was also dealing with trauma of losing my mother. So that was their baby sister. So we sometimes don't know how people deal with trauma, different traumas. You know, they were dealing with it like that, but they didn't know how to take it and show us how to deal with it as being her kids. They just allowed us to live in separate homes and call them mom. That is still trauma. It was still trauma there for me, because I always felt like out of place. You know how like people, they be looking like each other, they all look alike, and then you got this light bright. You know what I'm saying? I was very light. A lot of my family members were dark skinned, and I always felt like, who do I look like? You know what I'm saying? I don't look like you. I don't look like you. Who do I look like? Until I found my dad and I seen his family, and I was like, oh, okay, this is who I look like. Hello, how you doing? And so, you know, just after that, you know what I'm saying, I had some kind of closure, like to know who I look like, but I still felt displaced, or, you know, I still dealt with a lot of rejection. I felt like nobody understood who I was when I was a kid, so I was very lost. And then my parent who raised me, my aunt who raised me, kept me in a place of hardness, where she really didn't sit me down and say, you know, let's talk about these issues. Like, girl, go on, get your education, go to school. You know, she was very hard in that sense. And so that covers the childhood trauma. So when you grow up, you know, you don't realize how these things really could 100% be affecting you as a parent with your kids. 100%. You know what I'm saying? I'm a lot like my aunt in my parenting skills because how I was raised. You know what I'm saying? I'm very firm with my kids, being young men. And I had to realize that I can't be exactly like the person who raised me, because as it affected us, we don't realize it's about to affect our kids. You know what I'm saying? So I'm learning to not be as verbally argumentative with my kids. I definitely don't, when they get a certain age, they don't get no whoopings. I mean, for what? Especially when young boys grow up, you can't whoop them. You can't, they're getting older. They're like turning into men. What can you do? But I'm very firm. I'm a very firm parent. And like my friend Ladonna, she's in here. Hello. She was explaining how she keep her daughter from men, you know what I'm saying? Because if you don't mind me sharing, she was abused when she was a kid, and it put her in a place like, I'm not going to let I'm going to keep my kid protected, keeping her away from men. You're doing a beautiful job. I was raised the same way, so I carry myself a certain way. We was not allowed to be around men. Like, if a man came in the house, my aunt was like, if you got on a nightgown, you put on some shorts up under it. You feel me? You're not allowed around none of the men. If she had men friends, we was not allowed. We was not allowed around her company. And so when I got older, I have a certain respect for women with their men. Like, I'm not going to look at your man. I'm not going to, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to look in his direction. You feel me? Because I was raised like that, We weren't allowed to show no boobs, no nothing. You know what I'm saying? Because that's just how she was. And she was molested, you know what I'm saying, when she was younger. So the way a person is raised in a household with a person that has dealt with molestation, it's brutal. You turn into that person. You know what I'm saying? I'm always asking my boys in this era where there's a lot of things going on, is anybody touching you? Like, it's important that we ask our kids, are they being touched by somebody? Because a lot of our society is changing because of the issues of childhood, when it comes to molestation, when it comes to being abused in those type of manners. Even I just didn't realize that verbal abuse is a really big issue. Black mothers, we don't mean to be verbally abusive. I don't think so. We just are different with our parenting. Society is trying to change us on how we parent. But we do have to consider how we talk to our kids, and that we don't let the infliction of our childhood trauma become a normal thing for our kids. And I wanted to say, let's normalize the fact that we do deal with childhood trauma. You know what I'm saying? Let's normalize that, because it's real. There was a man that was in live, a man who was explaining that it's important that we pinpoint who we are within ourselves, what's bothering us in ourselves, and we take baby steps on how to, get to the point of healing. Get to the point of, like, we want to see how Rashida on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, we want to see how she's going to end up with her relationship with her father. You know what I'm saying? I know I do. And I was just discussing to Miss Cat how in my childhood, how I was looking at the Serena and Venus movie about their father, and how I couldn't get through it. I couldn't get through it because it was affecting me. And I was like, why is this affecting me? It's just a movie. But it was because of my trauma from the things that have happened between me and my father. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a lover. And I think that also I want people to understand that if a person don't want to love you, that's fine. You know what I'm saying? You take your energy and your love and you give it, the love that you don't receive, sometimes you have more love in you to give to others. We as people, I want to teach people, if you a father, right? What's wrong with being a father to other people's kids? If you a mother, what's wrong with being a mother to other people's kids? Like, that's what grow a community. Like, you also are teaching that man who abandoned his child how to be a real father. Or you is showing that mother how to be a real mother to her child. Like, it is a saying that it takes a village. It takes a village to raise kids. I think that I brought up childhood trauma so that we can learn how to be better parents to our kids by recognizing the traumas that we deal with when we was kids. A lot of people did have their parents. As we can see with Kat, she was explaining that she still had both of her parents, but the way her life went with both of her parents wasn't easy. And she still has a lot of, you know what I'm saying, feelings about that with her two parents. And I was explaining that, you know, here it is, we have somebody that had both of their parents, and yes, that's what helped your village grow. It do. It really do. And I realized that with her having both her parents, that, you know, it just helped me realize that everybody's story kind of be the same sometimes, regardless if you're missing something or you're neglected by something. Sometimes the experiences are the same. So I really appreciate her explaining to me about that, and I wanted to tell her, like, you know, I wish that I had that, even though, like, she felt like she didn't want to take care of her parents if they become elderly. I would kill for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I had my mom, I think my mom would be on the pedestal right now. You know what I'm saying? Because that's something that I didn't have. And when another person can hear that, I wonder, can that heal them? Like, okay, well, maybe I should love my parents regardless of how they feel, because when you ain't got them, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, this is just being honest, I don't care what happens to my daddy. I really don't. I'm not taking care of him. That's a fact. He's not going to be taken care of by me. But I don't know, y'all. I still struggle with childhood trauma. Two parents, you know what I'm saying, that I even sometimes have anger with my mom. Like, why did you leave? Why was you hanging with this crowd? You know, why did your family leave you out here? Like, my mom was like 23 years old when she was killed. And I'm going to share this, and then I'm going to kind of get off here, because I have many times, if people know me and have followed me, they know my experiences with what's happened with me when I was a child with my mom. But my mother was killed in Dayton on Lori Sue by another woman, and she was stabbed over 10 times from the face. The lady stabbed her in her face. I think it was kind of like within the 5th or 6th stab is what killed her, though, because like she stabbed her in here. But can you imagine a woman stabbing your mom that many times? And what kind of hate was that? You know what I'm saying? And now that I'm older, I'm like, when it's your time to go, it's your time to go. It's just that simple. My mom was too special to be here. I think that she really was, and that it was just her time to go. And that, you know, just when you can't get no help for that, like, I didn't get no help for that. I just grew up. But I was also one of those kids that were very expressive as a child. So I used to always be like, well, why? And they always like, girl, go on somewhere, or, you know, talk about me to other family members. You know, like, she's always doing this. She does too much of this. And that's just how I've always been. I've always been like that because I wanted to know why. But when I got older, I realized that you got to be careful who you keep in your company. And I do have a lot of trust issues with women because of that. Even my sisters. My mother left behind 3 girls, and I'm the baby. My sisters struggle with it. You know, probably not as much as me, because I really don't fool with a lot of females. I just keep having in the back of my mind that this lady, she stabbed my mom, you know what I'm saying? And she still lives in Dayton. You know, she's still walking around. And I never seen her. But I know she's here. And I don't want to see her. You know, there's times where you're like, well, you know, what if you find the killer and you want to address the killer? I've seen people address killers who killed their family members, and what does it do? It's going to bring a reaction for sure. And I think that's why the Lord keep me away, is because I think it probably will bring a reaction. And, you know, there's been many times where, like, my sisters have reached out. My middle sister, she reached out to the killer before, and the killer said she'll do it again. She said she would do it again. So to hear that, I think I was like in my 20s when I heard that. She called the killer on three-way. I'm just explaining some of my story. You know what I'm saying? I'm overcoming it though. But I'm trying to be a better mom to my kids. Does anybody want to jump in on this? Because really I'm doing a whole new video because Kat, she wasn't able to come in, and you know, I still wanted to like make a video about childhood trauma. We had a lot of people in here earlier through her live. There's a lot of people coming in, and so what got me is that I want to do it again. Let me bring Ladonna in. And let me see if we can bring Jesse in. Come on, Jesse. Come on here. And Tony. JT. What's happening? You coming, Ladonna?
I'm here,
hey,
girl.
I'm so glad you came again.
I'm back in, but you know, I feel you. You know, I can't really relate to like what you're going through about losing your mom, but like how you lost your mom. But you know what I can relate to as far as still dealing with trauma. You know, stand for certain situations. Like my brother and them, they lost their dad. You know, and the guy, it took them a while for them to arrest him. But like I told my brother growing up, like, you know, not saying that's what your mother, but I said that's what the God gave him back from what he done to us growing up. You know what I'm saying? So like, you know, so I don't really know, but I did forgive him years ago. And then I feel like God put on my heart to like, you know, why am I giving all this man this credit? Why am I putting all the blame on him when my mother was involved as well? You know what I'm saying? And when I learned that and figured that out, it just took me a while longer to forgive her. You know what I'm saying? It took for her to die for me to forgive her and get understanding. You know what I'm saying? She so, and I'm like, dang, here it is. And I think what made it harder for me to forgive her was because she was very nasty still as I was an adult. You know what I'm saying? She was still very vindictive as I was an adult. So I think that's what really made it hard for me to forgive her. But when she died, it was like all that lifted up off my chest, you know. And so, you know, I just guess I forgave her through death, you know what I'm saying? And it was just like a lot of that was just able to be lifted off my chest. It was just like she was the devil and she wasn't no longer able to hurt me, you know?
Right. So you felt a lot of verbal abuse.
And physical, you know, because they was abusing.
You helped me out with that one. Because, you know, I could be a little bit verbally abusive to mine. I mean, it's just something I got to work on.
You do, but you know, like I be saying, like, you didn't have no mom to teach you those things. You had an aunt, you know what I'm saying? But maybe she wouldn't have did it the way your mom would have done if your mom was alive, you know what I'm saying? And everybody parent differently, you know what I'm saying? I know for a fact it is things I gave to my daughter that comes from my trauma, you know what I'm saying? And that I really don't let her go nowhere. That comes from my trauma. I don't trust nobody. Like, if she want to go somewhere, go to the store, I'll be like, nah, it may be somebody out there gonna snatch you or something. Because it comes from me, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I'm trying to do better with that, you know? But it's really hard when you come from that type of place.
I honestly think you're doing right. Because I mean, we gotta protect our kids to a certain age. Then you can go, especially a girl. Like, whoo,
Right,
I wouldn't know what to do with a little girl. Like, I probably would be the same way, very protective.
right.
Um, and it's just trying to protect your kids. That's all.
Probably
It's
your
not
oldest
nothing
son, he just don't want to forgive you at all, whatever the situation may be. He ain't willing, like, to forgive you or talk to you or.
at all. At all. And you know, it plays a big thing with having him at 16 years old.
Right.
Yeah, having him at 16 years old,
So is his dad in his
allowing him to
life?
grow up with me, huh?
Is his dad in his life? It's like his life.
Yeah, his dad took him. His
Okay.
dad took him, and they played a big part in his mindset. Him and his grandma. The grandma is what he would call his mother, except for me. He called his grandma. And you know, I always try to go back and figure out where did I go wrong with him.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because he's 22 now. He's 22, and since he's left my home at 15 years old, I still have not yet to have a relationship with him, and that's somebody that I raised. You know what I'm saying? And to see
So
him
how
grow
old was
up,
he when he went to go stay with his dad?
15. You know that time where they ready to buck up, and we were struggling. You know what I'm saying? We were struggling, and I moved back to Ohio from Florida, and I was struggling, and he didn't want to struggle no more. He like, forget this. I'd rather go with the stability.
Right.
But that's why I say it's important that people come together. Like, if the father had more of a support system from other men to say, you know how important it is for this child to have his
That's
mom
what
and
about
his
the
father.
friend say next. Like, won't his dad talk to him? Like, do you know how important it's still? He only 22. He got his whole life to live. Do he know how important it's for him to have you? Because he only could give him guidance from a man aspect, not from a woman aspect. You know, so he still need that. But you know, have you just gave a try to talk to the Lord about it? That's how I say, do you know?
Girl, the boy is like me all over again. That's what's sad. He like got my whole personality. So it's like, dang, like
He's
when he
stubborn.
don't want to deal with you, he don't deal with you. You know,
Yeah, that's me too.
he doesn't want to deal with me.
Yeah, that's me
And
too.
I feel like with a young man, you gotta let them live. You
Yeah.
gotta let them bump their head. Especially if they have some resentment for you living life with them so young. Like I was young, so he didn't watch me
Yeah,
get married.
I remember you got in high school pregnant with him. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, you remember. And you know, I love him, but I gotta let him bump his head. And I always look at it like this: he got his daddy. You know what I'm saying? He don't want to talk to me. That's fine, but at least he got somebody.
But
And
I promise you, before he become 40 years old, he's gonna come back. Especially like if he have a kid and it's a girl, he gonna need you.
I don't know.
I
Yeah,
promise you. I know what I'm talking about. Like because like as kids, we always go off, but we always, especially like if you ain't never like abused him or like you were struggling, you can't help that you struggling. Like I'm struggling now, but you know what I'm saying. But I just moved back here from New Orleans, honey, and I'm struggling.
well, we gonna talk about that when we get off here
But
and
yeah,
see
but
what I
so
can.
like but yeah, but like I'm saying, but he is, and it's definitely like maybe if he willing, go to therapy, go to counseling.
I tried it all. He's one of those young millennial kids. You know, them kids that was born in the millenniums.
Yeah.
They off the chain. Like,
All
he
you can
was
do really is
born
just pray. He's God.
1999. You know, he's just, I feel like ungrateful, because I feel like when you have a mom that didn't have her mom, why do you want to not love your mama? Like,
Right.
but also I seen this video on childhood trauma where there was this young girl who was basically like, um discussing how she feel as dealing with childhood trauma, and how parents don't listen to their kids, and how we verbally abuse them. Just hearing that from a young girl's perspective, it made
Right.
me change. It made me begin to recook how I parent right now with the two boys that I have now, because it's
Right.
like, if you fail with one, I ain't trying to fail with the other two. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? And I want to be a better mom. So
Right.
listening to her really helped me. And sometimes we think we can't learn from these kids. We can, because
Yes,
like, I know
definitely.
as a parent, I don't be trying to hear it. Like, I don't want to hear it. I just don't.
Yep. I think
Do
that's
what
how
you
we are.
told. Yeah, it's like, but they be trying to get their feelings out. And so it goes back to how I was when I was a child. I couldn't get
Hmm.
my feelings out. Like,
Right.
I wanted to get them out, and I didn't have no outlet. So that also could be childhood traumas, like
Right.
where you don't have no space, no safe space
Hmm.
to say, I need to unload this. That probably where the healing started, is how to get it off of you. And I could relate to you about sleeping. Like, I have a hard time sometimes sleeping, and I learned when I stopped having struggles with sleeping. When you kind of learn when you become a good sleeper, to where your body is inflicted, where you can't sleep like you used to.
Hmm.
You know that in your life,
Right.
and those are internal things that affect you.
And you know what I do
They're
now, though,
affecting your
Alicia?
body.
When things is not in my control and I just can't handle it, I just give it to God. And I learned to not gibble with it or dabble with it. I pray about it and I leave it there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it took me a
Yeah,
long time, like I said, to feel my mom, but I just started praying about it and I just learned to forgive her through death. You know what I'm saying? Which was
yeah.
hard,
You
you know what I'm
just
saying, because she wasn't here. But I told her I apologized so many times for being disrespectful, but I didn't like how she was being disrespectful towards me, you know what I'm saying? And things how she would say she hated me, she never wanted me, you know what I'm saying? You know, I feel like that
um,
was a slap in my
I
face, you know
know
what I'm
I've
saying?
said those things before. I admit I've said things like that before. I don't know what happens. So look, you looking at somebody who said that to their child before. Like, I did. I don't know why. It's like, you're not grateful that I did these things for you. Try to raise you. It's like, dang, why did I even have you if you want to disappear and go love on other people? You know what I'm saying? Like, um, I learned that it's not his fault that he
Right.
was raised in that type of environment, and that it's not that easy to just be able to tell a man. Like, some people are able to co-parent. I wasn't. Like,
But you know
I was
what? Once
dealing with
you
a boy.
tell, it's different. I'm gonna say a little bit different, but once you tell a man something like that, they hold on to it forever. You know what I'm saying? They don't never,
Yes.
men don't never let none go once you tell them something. But versus a woman, we tend to like let it go. You know what I'm saying? To bury it. I mean, and men will bury it, but we tend to like let go and forgive. Men, they don't never forgive. You there, bring it up again. It could be, oh, you be talking about something totally new. They bring that right back up. So that's just how they
Oh
are.
yeah. You absolutely right. Cause
Uh,
that's what's happened. Like, the way my son talks to me is like, we on fighting terms. Don't never come at me crazy. I don't care.
so when y'all was in Florida, was his dad in his life then?
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, like how it is, like, me and his father, his father from school,
Yeah,
Jermaine.
very well. Yep.
Um, his mama was in control of everything.
Oh.
So, you know, you're trying to go to school, you bringing your kid to the father and the grandma, you trying to be a good parent by letting him be with his family. And the whole time his family is like working his brain like your mom is abusive, your mom is bad, your mom is out here, your mom is this, your mom is that. And so what happens is that really grew in his head. You feel me? And as being his mom, you know, I never wanted that. But I feel like also I appreciate, I kind of knew, it's like God warned me that he was going to leave. I don't know why, but I always knew that boy was going to leave from my life for some reason. And I always had a disconnection with him, in my eyes. By letting him go with his family and then he come back to me, he would scream and cry. And he didn't never really want to be with me as his mom. So that's why I moved states. That's why I left Dayton. I left to be with my father, but I also was trying to build a different relationship with my older son. And it just seemed like as soon as I came back to this Dayton, Ohio, he became older. And in the state of Ohio, they have it to where you can basically you could speak for yourself at 15 years old. And at 15 years old, he went in that courtroom. I don't know what he did and told the judge, you know, he's a good talker like his mom. He convinced them that he won't be with his dad. And by the time the court came, I am paying child support. You know what I'm saying? I had to pay child support. It was crazy. But paying child support and not being able to see my child, that affect me big time. And it still affects me, but I'm at peace to know, because God told me, I got him. I got him. Don't let him be, but just know I got my hands on him. And I just run with that. You know, because I know life. At 40 years old, I should know life by now, to know that the boy got to bump his head and he got to understand really where his mom was coming from. Like, you know, your mom did the best she can do, and she still, and this is like my testimony, is like when he was taken away from me is why I decided to leave hair. I aborted hair and pursued law, because no one knows what it feels like to see a child ripped from a parent's home. How that affected my middle son at 17, it affected him.
So do they
it
share the
affected
same dad?
No, all my kids got different dads, you know, and so my middle son really looked up to his older brother, you know, like, you know, the father figure.
Right.
But he left, and he dealt with his own struggles now by just leaving his brother. I mean, they were close, and he blames me for that. He blames me for everything. But
I'm ready whenever you are, bro.
huh?
I'll talk to my brother.
Hello, brother. That's what made me go to school for law and wanting to become a judge, is because I sat there and I'm in court, and to hear when you get the papers coming in the mail that's saying that the father has custody of your child, you're like, wow. You know, I was shocked. I was completely shocked, and so and completely broken. And I always blame that judge for how he separated my family. Huh?
What are you doing in Alaska?
I just graduated college, so I'm about to apply for law school.
Okay.
Yep. And so I plan to be in the judge seat. That the judge that tried to destroy my family, I want his job. You know what I'm saying? Because he completely destroyed my family, and I feel like people don't see that it's family court, right? They're supposed to be certified in helping families deal with situations of custody
I'm listening, girl.
they supposed to do that, right? But instead, they sometimes are not really paying attention to what's going on in a family. They listen to the child, which I feel is wrong. They should have never allowed my 15-year-old son to decide where he want to live. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
that affected him as a
Let me get
person.
out here, girl, because I'm about to go to the sorry.
That's okay. I'm grateful for coming. Thank you. Love you. Okay, so like I was explaining, that affected me to see that my son had basically was taken away from me by a judge, and how it affected his life as being ripped from his mom home. In my eyes, is that he dropped out of college, he began to smoke weed, he began to get all these tattoos. I mean, it's normal, but it wasn't what I wanted for my kids, and it wasn't the direction that I feel like he should have went in. But you know, people change, you know. But I feel like with him not having his mom around is why that direction was straight away. And so that is my testimony, is why I decided to go to law school. A lot of people don't know, like, what gave you that motivation. That is what gave me the motivation. Is to see my son be taken away from me was like, it's still devastating. Because of my childhood not having my mom and my father, I was like, there's no way this boy can go in life without his mom. You got your daddy, but people don't understand you need both. You need your mom and your dad. And as a community, it's important as a community that we start becoming these people's fathers, that we start becoming these people's mothers. Like, it takes a village to raise a family. It takes a village. Sometimes a woman cannot do this by herself. Sometimes a man cannot do this by himself. You need, without sexual things being involved, you need to have a village. You need to have someone to be able to support you. Love heals all wounds versus being distant into yourselves and in your own families. That doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help anyone when you only care about your family and yourself. Sometimes God put people in positions to be able to take care of others. That, I was just thinking about this last night. That is what God wants, and that's how we can make it to heaven. It ain't about how much tithes and money we're going to give God. It's not about how much will we do in our service for God. It's really about how we touch people in this world. That's really what it's about. It's about, you know, how are we blessing others? You know, I really think that's all God is requiring from us, is how are we going to help somebody? You know, because in the scripture it says clearly as day. Well, you know, Lord, I'm paraphrasing. Well, you know, God, I did this, I did that. I went and did these fundraisers. I had these pastor anniversaries, Lord. I gave all this money to send the pastor on vacation, Lord. I gave all my tithes. You know, I pay my tithes every month, Lord. I know I'm going to heaven. And then he looks into the book of life and say, I never knew you. You know what I'm saying? Get away from me, ye work of iniquity. I've never knew you. So when you hear God say that, that's basically explaining to us that we're not going to get in heaven based on what we give God. We're going to get into heaven based on what we do for others. We're going to get into heaven based off how we love each other. Like, because you automatically can't see what a person is going through, God has put people in place that can see what a person is going through. And we're supposed to be instrumental in how we heal people. Instrumental. That means that we're involved. You know, like, we get heavily involved, because now that we have brought up this conversation of childhood trauma, we are able to now pinpoint as a Black community one of the issues that affect us as a Black community, because it was so many people that came into the live today, and thank you for coming. am very grateful that people came into the live and that we were able to really talk about that issue of having those traumas. And you know, verbal abuse is one thing that I have to work on. What do you have to work on? You know what I'm saying? To be a better person, to be a better husband, to be a better wife, to be a better sister, to be a better brother, to even be a better friend. Like I personally got some healing out of this. And I gotta say this one more time, like Kat, we obviously gonna do another, maybe we'll do it tonight, I don't know, but we're gonna do another live, probably under another platform, I don't know. Because I still feel like Kat, y'all like my hat? This is Chrisette Michelle's hat. I got this a while back. But I feel like Kat was really trying to get across, as with her being a minister, trying to explain to us how to heal. And it's important that we learn how to heal. Like we got to get away from being afflicted on a regular basis. We want to be at peace, the peace that passeth all understanding. So, you guys, I want you all to follow Catherine Warren. She has a good platform. She also has like a organization that she all would like you to like. Please follow her. I'll put up some information so that you could be able to follow her. And then, of course, this is Alicia Intellectual Talks, and I'm going to be doing it more often. I still want to hear from people about their childhood trauma. And then I'll see you all again. Peace.